Oh, is that it, my friend?
Now it's a phone call.
Oh. No,
Could have worked.
yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I don't see her. It doesn't, I don't see anybody trying to join, Pat, but I could be missing it.
See,
Will I get a notification?
I don't see anything.
I can see me.
I do see you.
Yeah, Carrie, do you have your phone handy if she calls?
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Is that okay, Doc?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the January 26th regular meeting of our Joplin Schools Board of Education. Can I have a roll call, Ms. Pat?
Lori Musser.
Present.
Derek Gander.
Present.
Dr. Joseph.
Here.
Jeff Pope.
Present.
Brent Jordan.
Present.
Sarah Sherlock.
Here, thank you. And I believe that Dr. Ford is trying to join, and we might see her shortly. With that, would you please join me in the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we review our agenda, I would like to make an amendment to our regular agenda, adding an item number 6. That will be visitor management, student dismissal, and after-school tracking for elementary schools, Soaring Heights and McKinley. So,
I make a motion we approve the agenda as amended by Sherrick.
thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded that we approve our agenda as amended. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. That brings us to our reports, celebrations, pardon me. I don't know if we've got those that you can pull up, sir. I don't know. I'm going to, great, here we are. Eagles deliver the goods. Uh-oh. Laura Wolfs-Horndl? Did I mess that up? I apologize. A nurse at Freeman sent a request to Joplin School students and staff for artwork and cards to encourage healthcare staff that have been working in the coronavirus units for the last 9 months. Joplin Schools supplied ample greetings to cover all departments at Freeman, as well as Ozark Center, Will's Place, and Urgent Care. Great job, folks. Joplin High School wins big at the 26th Annual MSSU Media Showcase. Best overall publication was a spyglass for May 2020, page 1 design by Morgan Cravens. In editorial writing, first place, canceled by Samantha Walker. Second place, Lay Your Armor Down by Marina Crouch. And third place, Supporting Success also by Samantha Walker. Great job by those students. Feature writing, first place, Beyond the Badge by Mian Wheeler. Second place, Perception Before Perfection by Isabella St. Clair. Infographics, first place, Every Vote Counts by Jayla Hunter. Second place, Freaky Favorites by Kaylee Hamilton. And third place, Role Models by Logan Fletcher. Great job to those students. News writing, first place, A Bond to Build by Samantha Walker and Mian Wheeler. And second place, A Century of Suffrage by Isabella St. Clair. Sports photography, first place, 4 by Paige Krumsick. Second place, A Dive to Victory by Caitlin Blowbaum. And third place, Bases Loaded by T.J. Tracy. Sports writing, first place, Shooting for Support by Jasmine DeGroat. Hoot, honoring our outstanding teachers. She gives a hoot. Vivian Hayes, a Joplin School special education teacher, was recognized by the Joplin Globe in its Honoring Outstanding Teachers section. A parent nomination endorsed Ms. Hayes. If Ms. Hayes has a student struggling, she will do all she can to help this student. It's a nice endorsement. Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Kids Helping Kids, North Middle School Student Council, sponsored by Mrs. Crystal Stokes, delivered 750 pounds of non-perishable food and $309 to Children's Haven before the holidays. Students who donated food or money received a grateful grant. North Middle School students were excited to help a local organization. They look forward to their next community service project scheduled for the spring.
Ms. Stokes is here with us.
Oh, yeah,
There
there's
she is.
Crystal.
Crystal, thank you. Great, good job. Our own props to Dr. Moss, our Pathfinder. Dr. Moss was recently featured in the January-February edition of JMAG. The article featured her as one of Joplin's Pathfinders, serving the community with commitment. Thank you, Dr. Moss. Good job. That brings us to the Board of Education Policy Committee. Brent and I are on that. Brent?
Well, I don't have anything to add other than we have 2 policies for second read tonight, so they're on there.
Thank you. And our Board of Education Data Analysis Committee, Dr. Ford and Lori Musser.
So we did meet just recently, and Sarah shared a lot of data with us. Our kids are learning. That's no surprise to anybody. We, of course, had some good news and then some not so good news in all different areas. The main thing I wanted to focus on tonight, unless you want me to go through this whole thing, it'll take me about 30 minutes, but the main thing I wanted to focus on was the NWEA, because we did the fall and now the winter testing. So when comparing the data from fall to winter, what was that? Sorry. Oh.
That's dead.
We had a 1.4% gain in math, but we had a little drop in reading. And then whenever we look at the year span, winter to winter, we saw a 5% decline in math and a 0.2% gain in reading. So if you remember from our fall review, we'd had a 10% decline in math and 3.4% decline in reading. So year over year, we've made some progress to close those gaps in both those areas. So we're proud of that. And our teachers are looking at lots of different resources. They've pinpointed a couple that they think are going to be very productive. Some of the schools are using those, and they've seen some really good growth with a couple of those. It was Project 95, is that what it was, Sarah?
95% group and
Yeah.
exact.
So hopefully we'll be getting those out to use more in the other schools as well. And state testing was also a topic that is kind of confusing, because we're still going to be doing the state testing, but we won't have the APR again this year. We didn't have it last year, we won't have it again this year. But we will be administering the assessment still, and we'll have to administer the assessments to all students, whether they're virtual or on campus. And not only the virtual students that are taking Joplin's curriculum, but virtual students that are taking any curriculum, even the ones that we have, no control over or no input into. So that's going to be a little bit tricky, but we're determined to get that done and get it done right and move forward with that. So, anything else, Sarah?
I think, the testing piece, everybody's kind of watching to see. What we know today is we will be taking the state assessment, but there's a lot of chatter of just how to collect that and what that looks like. Some school districts, Joplin is very fortunate that we are in person. There are a lot of districts around the state who have not been in person, so that across the state, there's a lot of conversation about students' ability to come in and take those assessments. So we'll continue monitoring that and watching for any changes, but our teaching staff knows and our principals know as of today we are making plans and scheduling for spring assessment.
And just another thing I wanted to add, even though we saw gains in areas and we saw declines in areas, the whole committee is just very proud of what the teachers have navigated this year with all they've had to navigate this year. So they're working hard and they're trying to improve every single day. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Sarah. Does anybody have any questions concerning the Board of Education Policy Committee or the Board of Education Data Analysis Committee?
Sarah, I just would like to thank Sarah for being so thorough and detailed when we have our assessment meetings.
Yeah, she does a great job explaining it.
Thank you, Deb, very much.
I've got a question there.
Yeah.
You shared 2 pages of grades last week. Was that part of the data committee's review as well?
I think they looked at grade distribution as well, and I see Sarah nodding yes.
And it was,
The grade distribution that we reviewed was by department, and I think the other one we have is by grade level. I think the piece with that is there was a decline in F rates when we looked at specifically that. The trustee Gilbert has been monitoring that. So yes, that was discussed, but the big piece was looking at departments in the core areas where the major weakness is.
but you said there was a decline in the F rates? You said there was a decline?
Increase, sorry.
Yeah, from like 11.7 to 15.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty dramatic increase as well.
That brings us to our superintendent's data report.
Yes, and the first thing we'll have on that is health and dental insurance reports, and since we're turning our focus to the financial side, I wanted to take a moment and introduce a new member of our finance department as we start that, Ms. Erlene Rich, who is waving to us from my right of the room. Erlene joins us as our new director of accounting, and she comes to us from Littleton, Colorado. She has family here in Missouri, and she has a wealth of experience with her accountant work with the city there. We're thrilled to have her. She's fitting right in, already bought a house here in Joplin and ready to make this her home, and we're happy to have her. So thank you for joining us tonight, Arlene.
Thank you.
And I think Ms. Toft and Dr. Langford have that.
Okay. And I'll start on the health and dental. We just finished our halfway point through the year, and so we've spent so far $3,467,651.19 of our health and dental budget, which is around 46.8%. So we're still kind of right on about where we are. I will mention, I know that we've just received notification this week of a large claim that will be coming in January of over $200,000. So next month might not be quite as comparable as how it has been for this year. I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody may have on the health and dental reports.
And then also financial statements.
And I might mention on the health reports, which you should have, or the financial statements, and the information you get, if you look at that, you can look and it compares, you can look exactly where we are this year compared to last year. Just go back up, and it's very, very interesting because its trend is what you're interested in. And so speaking of that, on the financial report, Vince told me this didn't get loaded, but I just want to comment on the financial report because we closed the 6th month or 1/2 of the current fiscal year. And if you took a look at that single sheet that normally we put up on the spreadsheet, if you have your computer and look at it, I'm amazed at what a great job that Shelley has done, that Carrie has done, the building principals have done, that Sarah has done, that Dr. Moss has done with this year's budget. If you take a look at our projected revenues, if you compared it, you would look and say, oh, you're $7 million short in local revenue. Well, that's simply because Jasper County, because of the low interest rates, didn't feel compelled to generate a mid-December check as they normally have done. We got that. We're within $100,000 of our projected budget now as we close out, and you'll see next month. Very, very good. Our local, we're still waiting on that to come in. And with the state funding, last year we were at 45.9% of our budget at this time. This year we are at 45.68, or only within 36 basis points or so of that. So it is very, very good. Our federal revenue is up considerably because of the federal funding that's coming in, and you'll see that more in the next statement that we give you next month. Your bond sales inflated the other, so overall it's very good. We can explain the growth federal and local or other with bonds and federal money. And then when you get down to the expenditure side, the incidental fund, the debt service fund is pretty well locked in. We don't have any maneuvering around with it. It is what it is. Capital projects fund is a revolving fund, really, and you're going to see it being more volatile once we get into construction, because we'll be spending money because of the new improvements that are being made within the district. But what we're really interested in is looking at what happens to funds 1 and 2 of the incidental and teachers fund. So last year, at this time, we had spent 45.45% of what we had budgeted. This year, we have spent 44.8%. So we're a little bit behind. And you might say, well, I thought you said it was 50%. Why are you less than half? It's because of the way we do accrued payroll for teachers. They are paid trail out money, and we really have not paid them. They'll be getting money during the months of July and June, July, and August instead of being paid out. So that speaks to that. If you look at that, we were at 35%. This year we are at 34% in the teachers fund, and that's why that fund is much less than 50%. But if you look at what's going on, if we look even in the capital projects fund, last year we had spent $14 million. This year we've only spent $3 million. What's the difference? Remember the Bank of America loan that we had that we paid off? And we bought 3 additional buses. If we backed out the 3 additional buses we bought this year from expenditures, last year at this time, we would be sitting at 2.8 if we backed out the Bank of America in expenditures. If we backed out the 3 buses this year, we'd be sitting at 2.8. So what I'm saying is you have a great group of people who are overseeing the operations. Shelley accounts for it. I give her some idea about what kind of money we expect to get. They account for it. But it's really the folks that are running the programs and those who are the head of the departments that are really working hard at staying within the budget. So as we move in now to the second half of this year, we're very confident that Joplin schools will be in an extremely strong position at the end of this current fiscal year. We will do a revised budget in February, which has always been the case, and we'll see some numbers change to reflect the new monies that have come in and what have you. But it's more of a compliment to the great teamwork that I see within your district.
Thank you, Doctor.
And then finally, we have construction update, and I see Aaron Height and Chad Greer here to talk to us about our new construction.
Hello. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I guess if we jump into it, excited to give you an update this evening. The first portion that we want to run through is give you an update on the overall budget and the schedule. As you recall from the last meeting, I indicated that we were, Crossland was currently, at the previous meeting, they were reviewing the 100% design development plans. We've spent some time going through the numbers, combing through it with them to ensure that we're depicting everything accurately, and I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who can give you an update on the budget.
All right, next slide. Okay, as you can see, we've got both the updated budget as far as the 50% DD and how we compare to today with 100% design development. Basically, all the parts and pieces, we've had some pluses, we've had some minuses. You put them in a bag, shake them up, and we're $12,000 under our budget from last time. So we're going the right way. That's good. There's a lot more detail on the current plans, and that's the way we like to see it, obviously. Chad and his team did a great job. And along with that budget of 12,000 under budget, we still kept contingencies of construction of 372,000. We've got a design and estimating contingency. Now, typically, we see that design and estimating contingency as the drawings move forward. That shrinks down. So that will come down. That's basically just in the unknowns currently right now. We will want to keep a construction contingency, but it will be a shrunk-down version. On top of that, we'd still have an owner contingency of $600,000. So total contingency in the budget right now is over $1.3 million, which is really healthy at this stage in the game.
Was there a rock contingency too?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's not included in
Yeah,
that.
I'm just,
That's over and above that contingency. Rock is currently $650,000 of rock. And that's in the budget numbers, the 100% stuff. So,
no rocks.
no rock.
Right?
We didn't go ahead. The total
We
amount.
need to knock a lot of wood on this table.
We will hit some. We just don't know how much.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Next
say,
slide.
if you need some rocks, I got some in my backyard.
Oh, boy. We don't need any rocks.
Okay.
Next slide.
Oop, a little too far.
There's one more.
One more.
One more. There we go. So a quick schedule update. Chad and his team have, as well as us, have decided on 2 packages. Early package is going to be the site and utilities. So that package right there will hopefully get us out of the ground. We'll know exactly how much of the rock contingency we've used. That will start construction around April. As far as the building and site, it's going to be everything above grade. We're going to get that package around May and start construction of that package around the June mark, with construction being completed in time for school of 2022. Notable items on that one. Kelsey Norman groundbreaking, we have officially set that February 26th. We're going to start construction of Kelsey Norman around March 1st. Also, this is a tentative groundbreaking. Things are still moving. They're very fluid. But for right now, we've got April 7th as a groundbreaking for Dover.
And the good news there is that's a little earlier than we had first anticipated.
Yes, it is.
So
That's correct.
put those dates on your calendar.
Okay. Any questions about the schedule or the budget at this point? Conversation's a lot easier when we're going the right direction, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, really happy to be able to share some new images with you. We've gone through a few iterations for the interiors design concept, and this evening we've got some images to show you of what the building could look like on the inside. To date, all you've seen is what the building could look like on the outside. So as you enter into the reception space, you'll see that the main entry lobby contains some perforated metal panels with some decorative lighting, very minimal interior finishes, and then whatever name is decided for the facility, we can cast into the wood. Next slide, please. This is coming through the main entry doors, and you're looking to the right. You see the reception area, and then the hallway directly in the middle of the image will lead you to the commons and gymnasium, and then the operable wall and doors there that open up into the multimedia center. So directly in front of the entry is the library and multimedia space. Next slide, please. Shot inside the multimedia center, showing the volume of space. We've reduced the height and volume of that, not only as a cost-saving measure, but also to provide kind of a more of an intimate learning area, where the multimedia specialist had requested a kind of a reconfigurable classroom area in that location. You can see there shown with the TV on the wall. So that gives kind of just an informal kind of teaching area in that space. Next slide, please. Another shot inside the media center. Next. So in the previous slide, you saw some graphics on the wall, and I wanted to kind of bring you up to speed. I'm not sure that we finalized the graphics that are going inside of the school at this point. We're still working them out, but we're starting to formulate a game plan where the graphics are taking kind of a line art and kind of color shape to them. If you'll go to the next slide, we're looking to tell throughout the school stories that can be those teaching and learning moments, but also be rooted in the history of our area. Those would include speaking to the schools uniting West Central and Columbia, downtown skyline, children, fields of clover. As you know, Dover Hill got its origin and name from a song where they talked about fields of clover going up to Dover. I don't know the exact words, but it's something along those lines. Including trees and nature, garden, the Grand Falls, butterflies, sun, sky, and clouds, Route 66, mining history, trains and trolley, all things that are kind of relevant to our area. So we're going to, hopefully the graphics take on kind of an iconographic appearance, and we're able to kind of plant those throughout the facility. So you'll see some areas where there are graphics included, and those may not be the final version as we're still kind of working out what those look like. Next. Okay. This is down near the cafeteria and commons. We're also using the area outside of the commons as an opportunity to kind of tell the story and tell the history of the two schools kind of coming together. You see they're depicted with the graphic timeline. We're also looking for any opportunity to get the eagle in there where we can. Next slide. This is inside the commons looking toward the gym. We're going to have a large operable wall that opens up between the cafeteria and gymnasium space so that they could have different events in there and use the entire space, where they can close it down and just use one or the other space. The colored panels that you see up high are Tectum for sound control, and we've had a lot of conversations about what those colors should be, and I think we're mixing in a lot of the Joplin School standard colors, but also giving them some more kind of fun and vibrant colors that you would typically see in an elementary school.
Is that the fun and vibrant colors?
I'm sorry?
Is that the fun and vibrant colors that you have, or you?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Next shot. That's showing you with the door closed in the commons. Next, please. Straight on. Putting the eagle on the wall at the end of the gym space. Next, please. Looking back towards the commons. As you recall from the exterior, the outside of the cafeteria common space has those large, tall windows that kind of evoke the historical presence. Next. Shop with it closed down. This would be the learning side of the classroom function or classroom portions of the building, first and second floor, but included this just so you can kind of start to see how all the spaces kind of lay out, with the learning park centrally located, and then your restrooms located in the center core, with the classroom pods located around the outside of that core, that central core space. Next shot. At the entry, this is a shot right when you walk through the doors. If you were looking straight ahead, you'd be looking in the multimedia center, but looking down to the left, you see down into the first floor classroom area. To the left, you'll see a yellow stair that takes you up to the second floor. You'll see more detail on that here in a few, but essentially learning parks on both level 1 and level 2 that have an operable wall between the media center and the learning park, so it can open up and become that flexible, adaptable space. There. Next shot, please. A little sitting area outside the learning park. Next, please. This is a shot inside the media center looking towards the learning park. You can see at the large opening to the learning park on the right-hand side, you'll see that operable wall kind of stacked up. That will, you can actually close that, as well as the door on the left-hand side to kind of close off the media center when they're looking for, less noise and less traffic. So a very flexible space. This is inside the Level 1 Learning Park. Again, very flexible space that allows for different types of functions. Number one request for that space, they said, that's great, we want a sink in there. So they're getting a sink. Next shot, please. Again, Level 1 Learning Park, and you can start to see down the hallway to the right. Next shot, please. So we're trying to do something fun and interesting at these stairs, and we're looking at introducing color and then some kind of fun, interesting patterns on the ceiling. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see a more detailed version of the stair. We didn't have time to incorporate that model into the overall model. We were just specifically looking at the stair, but you know, we're finding that this kind of circle is replicating itself throughout the building in various places. So we're looking at a perforated panel for closing off the stairs. Just a really kind of fun and vibrant stair for the kids. Next, please. Looking down the corridors, you'll see that we've got this cross aisle kind of between the central corridors that functions as the entry to the restrooms. And we're looking at incorporating some of those graphics that we talked about previously as kind of markers or indicators to kind of locate yourself in the building. There will be various colors throughout the building that kind of tie into the different grade levels. And you'll see more on that here in a few. Next, please. Here's a shot looking at the graphic that kind of wraps that entry into the restroom area. Next, please. This is the area at the southeast corner of the building. This would be the opposite stair from the main entry. And we are currently planning on relocating the mural that is at West Central to this location shown here. Really prominent spot for that, and we really liked it and thought it kind of played in well with the planned graphics and narrative there as well. Next, please. Just some additional shots. Next. This is a top-down view kind of showing you how we're using color in the various grade sections. You can see the kindergarten on the bottom of the screen has a yellow, and then the green, and then the blue, and then I think if you go to the next plan, you should see, yeah, we've got kind of a purple, an orange, and then a red. And those, really, we use the color sparingly in those areas, but if you recall, take for example the area on the right shown in the orange. That space is the collaboration space, the collaboration pod shared between all three classrooms. So the color starts to kind of find itself very prominent in that space, and then it kind of fans out into the classroom areas. We didn't think with all the things that teachers typically like to put in their classrooms that we wanted to introduce too much color in those classrooms. Let the kids' artwork and projects kind of speak for themselves. Okay, next. So here's a shot inside the classroom, and you'll see that collaboration area where the color is really kind of prominent, and then it kind of subtly finds its way into the classroom spaces. But again, everything is fairly simple and straightforward, but I think it will give visual cues to where you are in the building. Next. Kindergarten area. Next. So this is just to give you an idea. I know it's hard to see all of the things from those small renderings, so we wanted to show you kind of an enlarged intended material palette for each of the areas. So the kindergarten theme, again, is the yellow. Next, please. First grade is kind of green. And again, I think there's those, if you recall, we were kind of saying all the things that we're looking for the graphics will tie in things like nature and trees and other various things. When you're looking at the blue, you can do sky and the Grand Falls, and I think that there are ways that we can tie that story into the color areas as well. Blue for second grade. Next, please. Purple for, doesn't look purple, but it's kind of a purpley color. Third grade. Fourth grade is the darker. Next. Orange. Okay. It's an update.
Okay. Is there a safe room area or a designated safe room? Or?
Yes, there is. There's a safe room right now being planned for 500 occupants, and that will take care of enrollment and staff.
Is it included or is it external?
It is inside. It is actually, it encompasses the entire SPED area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't know the Dover song that you could sing, maybe?
I don't know, maybe I might be able to, but it's a pretty catchy tune, let me tell you. I think it was from the 40s. Oh, I thought it was.
We might play it for you tonight.
I opened up a can of worms.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's
Chad?
a toe tapper. Yes, sir.
Where is the elevator? I did not see that.
If you go back.
Kind of in the central of it?
Yeah, if you go back a
It's
couple
okay.
of shots to where you can see the plan. Oh, yeah, right there. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, okay,
So this is the main entry. This is your reception area and admin. So people will come in and they will come through reception and they're into the building. This is the stair right here, and this is the elevator.
Thank you. Perfect.
Very
Next-
exciting.
Next board meeting, we are shooting to bring some show and tell, some actual materials, what the brick's going to look like, what some of the other materials associated with the exterior of the building, so you can see it, make sure everybody's good with the direction there. And but I think we're making great progress on the design.
Do the colors there in that room that adjoins the gym, are those the same colors as the classrooms? Those panels?
Yeah, some of them are. The lighter blue kind of finds itself as kind of a common color throughout, but then when you get into the classroom areas, those have their own kind of unique colors associated with them.
Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That brings us to public comments. Do we have any of those tonight, Pat? Thank you very much. Our consent agenda, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mike. It's been moved and seconded that we approve our consent agenda. Please vote.
Yes.
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 And yes. And that takes us to our regular agenda, recommendation from the naming committee for the new elementary school. Dr. Saketa.
Okay, I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Moss, and Sheriff, you can chime in on this too. As you know, back in December, you authorized us to have a naming committee for the building, and we had a cross-section of the district, and obviously people that are going to work in the building, as well as people from different sectors of the district and also community members. So we had that meeting on January 12th, and we went through a series of processes to nominate or to put some names up individually, and then groups talked about those names and the advantages to certain names versus other names and so on. A lot of good discussion, and so I'll let Dr. Moss kind of take it over a little bit here too. But just to tell you real quickly, Brad Belk was supposed to try to be here, but he was going to be running a long distance to get here. And what we made sure that we had him come in and tell us the history of the area as much as possible, how the Landreth family had donated the property back in the 20s, and about the Landreth family and about how they made their way through Joplin and the successes they had, and then how the city acquired the property, and then how the city had, the land was donated to the city, and the city had decided in 1951 to name it Dover Hill, after the song by Percy Weinrich, who was a Joplin native, by the way. And I can't think of the name of the other song that he had was popular, but you've heard it in all kinds of different productions. But the song that was being referred to was Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet. One of the lines in the song stated, "Through the fields of clover, we'll go up to Dover on our golden wedding day." And if you Google it, you can get it on the internet and hear it. But anyway, that's kind of where we were at, and we discussed many different names, and I'll let Dr. Moss chime in here and tell us a little bit of her perception. Our role was just to facilitate, Dr. Moss and I.
Well, I'm pleased that the group was so cohesive, and they really spent time looking at the history of that. And another thing I remember shared by Mr. Belk is that song by Percy sold 2 million copies of sheet music when that came out. And if you think about that today, I guess sheet music at the time was the CD or whatever that we might have today, or the downloads, and that's a significant number for that time. So that's a big part of our Joplin history, and the group felt that that should be honored, as well as the fact that that's what we've referred to that site for a long time, and it's a recognizable feature here in Joplin is Dover Hill. They also wish to honor the Landreth family, and as you know, once the Landreths donated that to the city, I think in your notes it says 1926, the original conditions for the donation was that the land be used as a park. So when the city was gracious enough to partner with us and give us that land contingent upon the bond issue passing, we sought out and again received a hearty endorsement by the Landreth heirs that we should be able to use that land for a school. So, Sherrick, you were there. Is there anything you want to say as we build the anticipation of what this suggested name is going to be? It wasn't in the notes. Oh, we've kept it out of the notes, but did you have something we were going to pass out after that?
I would say,
Has it been passed out?
I would say I was surprised at
Here it
the
is.
unanimity.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of agreement concerning the name. I thought it would be far more difficult than it was.
And that extra handout, because we didn't want to spill the beans too early, is
Ah.
right there.
So are we going to tell them the name?
I mean, are you waiting for me to say something? I think that it's you, Doc.
Okay, I can say it. So, finally, the consensus of the naming committee was to also pay tribute to the Landreth family in some way inside the building, but the proposed name and what the committee agreed to recommend to the Joplin's Board of Education is Dover Hill Elementary as the name for the new school to be located at the corner of North Main Street and Murphy Boulevard. And I think it's also important to note that every single person on that committee wanted to transition to serve at additional meetings to offer input about historical references and things inside the building and artifacts that we may recover from the two campuses. So there's a lot of interest in the history of Columbia West Central, as well as the history that is rich with the new site. So
I would like to add to that. You saw that some of the diagrams in a really kid-friendly way to show the history of Joplin, things about Joplin, and obviously West Central and Columbia, and already the mural from West Central. There's a really good way we can thread the needle and make sure that the schools are honored and still make sure that the new name Dover Elementary is the new name of the school.
Dover Hill?
And everybody on the committee, we asked, do you want to be a part of some of the things to decide where things go in the building, the media center, the walls, and so on, to honor the history of Joplin, and everybody's raised their hands. So we were excited about that. And so we'll continue discussions with the naming committee to bring you some more things that are going to be inside the building, and Chad and his group have already done. I wanted you to know, Chad did not know the name of it.
I was just getting ready to ask.
He did not
Chad
know
knew
that.
something.
Now I don't have to change my mind.
It was cheaper, right?
Yeah, he really did not. Yesterday he was in there and that was on there. I thought, oh, what? I didn't say anything. But anyway.
that's kind of been the default as we have referred to that property all along. So administration recommends the Board of Education adopt the recommendation of the naming committee.
I'd make a motion that we approve the name as recommended by the committee to the board.
Or go ahead.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt Dover Hill Elementary as the name of our new grade school. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Very exciting stuff, in my opinion. And again, I was surprised at how easily the committee came to that conclusion. I thought it would be far more challenging. We had some fun conversation about how our middle schools got named. And for those who don't know, they're north, south, and the east.
Yes.
So there you have that. So at any rate, as we continue, an amendment to the Corner Greer and Associates AIA agreement for design of the press box remodel at Junk Field. Dr. Saketa.
Well, as we told you earlier, we had anticipation, Matt Hyatt's on his way up here, that we would go out and sell advertising agreements, okay? And the two things that the advertising agreements were going to be targeted toward was, one, a video scoreboard installation, which we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. And second was the remodeling and expansion of the press box, that those advertising agreements would also pay for that. And what we're happy to say is, as of today, we've secured through signatures $550,000 of advertising agreements to go towards the video scoreboard and the press box expansion. And we got bids in, and we're going to talk about those here in just a minute, and Matt's going to give you more information on that as far as the video scoreboard is concerned. But that we're well above what would be required to purchase and install the video scoreboard, and what it would be for the expansion of Chad's scope of his agreement for Dover Hill and for Kelsey Norman to go ahead and expand his contract to put that in his scope to go ahead and draw and design the press box for us. So that's what we're presenting to you tonight. For us to go ahead and proceed with expanding the AIA agreement to include in the scope of that the design of the press box with Corner Greer and Associates. Anything else on that?
Move to approve.
So. Covered it.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you, Mike. It's been moved and seconded to approve this adjustment to the Corner Greer AIA agreement for design. On behalf of the Joplin School Board of Directors, I want to thank those people who have made commitments as quickly as they were to our to what's going on at Junk. I mean, wow. We start talking about this and we see our community supporting these initiatives, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the effort by our group, headed by Mr. Hyatt, who is here in front of me, but also the willing commitment of our community to these construction opportunities and the improvement of our fantastic Jung Field. What an amazing stadium we have at our disposal. So I've said my little soapbox, and I want to thank everybody. So is there anything else before we vote? I believe we had a first and a motion and a second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Matt, I'm sorry we didn't have anything to pound.
I'll be here for a little bit. I just want to say I feel like it's a tough act to follow. That I don't have as much suspense as the name of the school. So
What are we going to name the scoreboard?
yeah.
Well, why do you say that? This is what we want to name the scoreboard. Well, there's all kind of billing opportunities on the scoreboard, and we want to bring you all the advertisers at some point. Here is the scoreboard itself, and we're kind of holding off whenever we get all of our signed agreements to come back and show you what who all the advertisers are and what it's going to look like. But as you can see, this is the scoreboard that we're going to purchase. This is the design that we want to put in front of you tonight from Nevco. And Matt Hyatt did a wonderful job, and Kyle Wolf, of going through the specifications. This was it's very technical stuff. We had to obviously have Eric Pitcher and Vince and those guys in the IT department, because it was a lot of it was over our pay grade when it comes to understanding sound and everything else that goes with it, and electricity and the board and everything. But we put together a bid spec that got two very good bidders, Daktronics, which is a nationwide company. They've got scoreboards everywhere, and Nevco as well. And both Nevco and Daktronics they have very quality products, but some specialize more in NFL stadiums or major college, and the other more in high school and smaller colleges and so on. The Nevco scoreboard that we're putting in front of you tonight for purchase is the similar kind of scoreboard from the same company that Missouri Southern has, so you're very familiar with that and the sound that it puts out and the quality. Matt, is there anything you want to talk about there?
Well, I would say that I would agree with you that Daktronics and Nevco are two great companies, and Nevco kind of got involved in this because the video board at Missouri Southern is a Nevco product, and they had that board in town, and that's what kind of started our relationship with them. And obviously we had a relationship with Daktronics as our outdoor video boards at the high school, or not video boards, sorry, scoreboards on our 4 turf fields at the high school are Daktronic products. And I just think that the process that Dr. Saketa led us through with the RFP and that type of thing accomplished exactly what we were hoping for, that we're going to get a quality product at a great price. And it was a very similar process to what we followed when we replaced the turf at Jung. And we feel the same way about that we've got a great product at a great price. And, and the good thing about this is it's not costing the taxpayers a penny. This was money that we raised through the community. And like Mr. Dermott said, we're incredibly blessed to be able to do that.
2 questions, Matt.
Yes, sir.
When buying the board from them, is that going to include like any servicing if we have issues, or is that the board and then servicing would be additional? Or?
There's a 7-year warranty on the board. Now that doesn't include labor. The board itself is constructed of, I don't know the exact size, but they're roughly 1 by 1 foot panels of LEDs.
Right.
And so our, Mr. Pettit's electricians would be trained on, if we did have an issue, how to pull that panel out, plug another panel in, and put it back in. And there is a reserve stock that we would get from Nevco upon completion of the project, where we would have extra panels and parts where we could do that ourselves. And we'll talk a little bit about installation next, I think, is the next item. But we're proposing a local company do the installation, so they would be here for us as well to help us if we did run into an issue.
And the sponsors, they're going to rotate through the sponsors.
So what you see, the top strip under where it says Dewey Combs Athletic Complex, that will be the title sponsor. That will be a fixed banner. And then what you see on the sides are other sponsors. Those will be fixed, non-backlit signs. And then we do have the capability to do what you would refer to as zoning of our video board, where if we chose to, we could have a strip down the side of the actual video board that rotated through sponsors. Missouri Southern does that as well. And then something else that's, I think, important is what you see at the bottom, the scoreboard at the bottom where it says Eagles and Tigers there is an actual scoreboard. They call it a strip scoreboard that's 5 feet tall. So we would not have to take space out of the actual video board itself to display time, score, and those important things. And it would also give us the option, if we ever wanted to, not anticipating it, of being able to, just turn that scoreboard on if for JYFA or, somebody who was renting our facility that didn't want to, provide somebody to run that video board.
Thank you.
To give you just a little bit of where we're at, we have sold the press box, the top billing, everything you see up there except the bottom 2 small boxes on the right. And we have a meeting tomorrow with another potential advertiser, and hopefully we will get these last 2 spots filled. Dorothy Alcins came up with almost, 98% or 100% of the way that we were going to approach our advertisers, and then even the pricing. And it's worked well, and Good. She deserves a lot of credit. She's really hit the pavement hard in coming in and finding people, and then it's been a real team effort, so I really appreciate her work along with Matt and Dr. Moss as well. Everybody's really worked on this hard, so hopefully we will have the other two sponsors very soon. There's two sponsors that are, right now, they're checking, dotting i's and crossing t's on the agreement to make sure it's okay so before they turn them into us. We should get those soon.
I would make a motion that we authorize the purchase of the video board as presented in the recommendation.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the purchase of this video board. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. That takes us to the installation agreement, Dr. Scudder.
Well, as you know, if you're going to get a purchase a video board, you have to install it. So we, within the RFP that we put out to both Daktronics and Nevco, they reached out to at least two, if not three, installers themselves. Two of the installers were local, one CDL and one Sign Designs. And then the third installer from Nevco was a Kansas City installer. And it was to our advantage to be able to work with an agreement with the installer to save about $19,000 plus.
$19,800, I believe, was what the savings was.
Yeah, to work with an installer and come into an agreement with them separately. So that's why you have the extra agreement for installation. It was well worth $19,000. It'll be a local company. Either one of those companies are fine companies, but Sign Designs would be our choice based on the bid.
I think it's important to note, too, that Nevco will still be the project manager, that they'll do the coordination with Sign Designs on what needs to happen when, not us, even though it's an agreement with us, so.
And next month, we want you to know that Dave will be bringing a bid for running electricity. Is that right, Dave? So to make sure that we have the proper run and everything, and cabling and everything's correct, to link up into the press box, we're going to have probably around $40,000, somewhere in that range, purchase that will also be coming out of the advertising agreements as part of the total package. So that'll come next month. But we need to employ and get them going right now with the installer and Nevco, so they can tell us exactly what bid specifications and what specifications to put in for the electrical run.
What's the installation time? I mean, is it?
I can't remember exactly when we're going to get started, other than just past February.
Weather permitting and COVID permitting, we should finish middle school track season the first week of May. We have installation scheduled to begin the following week. It may be possible to do some of the electrical work and the conduit work prior to that, or possibly during middle school track season, as long as it's safe and not disruptive to anything. But we anticipate the actual installation of the board to begin the second week of May.
And getting Chad and CGA on to draw this as quickly as possible is very important, as well as getting those agreements in, because we need to be able to put that out to bid for a contractor to pick it up and us to select one, so they can schedule us and get the press box done in time.
And what do you do with the previous sign?
We talked to Nevco about that, about what our possible options are. We do have some options, but at the moment, we think the most fiscally responsible thing would be to allow Nevco to recycle it. For our board, current scoreboard, which is about 10 years old, 10 to 12, Nevco's told us there's not a whole lot of a market for that, to resell it or anything like that, and we don't have a use for it elsewhere in the district at the moment.
I would move that we authorize the installation agreement from Sign Design to present in the recommendation.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the installation of the scoreboard. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. And that takes us to our
you all.
accounts.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. That takes us to our accounts payable. Dr. Langford and Ms. Toft.
We'd like to recommend you approve the accounts payable, and there is a list of payments that are being made. You have 3 different payments that are reflected totaling $9.7 million that were dating back to December 21st, and then the interval payment on January the 12th, and then the payments that you're approving tonight of January 26th. When we compare it to last year, we are $1 million ahead, but that was in only 2 payments last year. And so if you remember back at the last meeting, because we met early, we only had 1 payment. So basically, we're about $800,000 less when we compare. So the point is we, again, commending the folks who make these decisions about how to spend money. This is evidence that they're continuing to do a good job with the payments that we're requesting to be made tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Langford. Does anybody have any questions of Dr. Langford or Ms. Topp concerning our accounts payable?
I make a motion that we approve the accounts payable as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded that we approve payment of our accounts payable. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you all. So that brings us to item number 6 that is not in written form on your agenda. This is the visitor management, student dismissal, and after-school tracking for elementary schools, Soaring Heights and McKinley. Whose action item is that?
Security.
Dr. Saketa.
Okay, earlier in the consent agenda, you approved the visitor management only system for 15 locations around the district, which included our middle schools and all of our elementary schools, early childhood center, and so on. This action item is going beyond the scope of just a visitor management system. When you walk into the school, you know you're checked in, you're background checked, and so on, and you're printed a badge. This system for these 2 schools, they elected to go with a combined system that would also allow a virtual tracking of students to get into to either get on the bus, to get on the cars, in the cars with their parents after school, and to improve their tracking of students after school for safety purposes. One of the schools, McKinley, had been piloting this program for quite some time now, and they really have a good, slick system down. And essentially what happens is if a parent calls in, say, at 1 o'clock and says, you know, Joey needs to get on the bus today, I'm not going to be there to pick him up, the secretary puts that in the computer. It pops up in the teacher's feed that she can look at on her computer in the app. And then it also pops up after school like for instance in McKinley, in the gymnasium where all the kids are lined up to get ready to go out to the cars. It shows whoever's managing that system, okay, Joey is going on the bus. I don't have to worry about Joey in the line in here in the gymnasium and so on. So it really tracks everybody real well. It also will allow those 2 schools to print out a bus roster. So based on who's supposed to be on the bus, whose attendance and so on, I think McKinley has 4 buses, I believe it is. He can print out a bus roster at, say, 2:30 every day based on the latest, best information that was sent in by parents or called or changed, because, you know, things change over the course of the day. And then the bus driver will have his roster. Now, that will help us with what we call ADTs and for transportation, where we're tracking for buses and so on later. The last thing that this system will do for those 2 schools, minimally, is also be able to plug kids in after-school programs. If the kid's in the Y program or they're in some other club or organization after school where they stay in school, it'll also track their attendance there. Jason Riddle picked up on this system, and he really liked it, and we made it available for all the schools. But Soaring Heights decided to go ahead. They wanted to use it and try it for next year. And that's what this action item is for. My apologies for not getting to you sooner. I've been working with the kid account company on the agreement itself, ironing it out, but this will approve the signature of it when we get that ironed out for the cost that's associated with it. I also want to thank them because they have pretty much let us pilot a program for a whole year at one school at no charge. So one other last thing. There will be an annual cost beyond next year. And we put this in the capital outlay budget for this year, so to cover this. But what will happen is parents will get it looks like a little credit card. So there'll be 2 of them per family. So that way, mom and dad or whomever that's on the list to pick kids up can bring it. And what'll happen is, I don't have my phone, but let's pretend this is, you'll come up, the teacher will have their phone, and they'll scan the card. And when they scan the card, when the person's in the car line, it sends a message right in, and it says that, Joey's mom or dad's out there. So they know to send Joey out. And that's how it starts the tracking. It's very smooth. But on the back of the card, you can do what? Advertising, sponsorships. So those go very well, we're told, and we've already got a lot of references on that. And so the following year, we'll be able to sell advertising on the back of the card to pay for that service for a year, if we so choose.
It's basically just like a little student ID.
It is.
For the parents.
It is, yeah.
I don't see an issue at all why we shouldn't approve this. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's really a good opportunity, and I think all the schools have a system now. They are so good. There's nobody in America that controls or supervises anything better than elementary principals and teachers. I'm just here to tell you. And so a lot of the schools have extremely good systems. It's 8, 9, 10 minutes to get the kids out in the cars safely and so on. So I think as this system is used by 2 of the schools, and possibly more may want to entertain that, but right now the rest of the schools have elected just to go with visitor management and use the system they have in place. They all use walkie-talkies. Some of the schools some of the people have been in the car line, or the teachers working the distribution or dismissal of kids, know the parents so well, they feel very comfortable with it. But this is another layer of potential protection that 2 of our schools have elected to choose.
Derek, if that was a motion, I'll second.
It was a motion. I see there's no reason why we shouldn't approve this. I think that's great.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you, Brent. It's been moved and seconded that we approve, is it KID or?
Kid account.
KID account, thank you. Right. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Please vote.
Yes.
Most definitely, yes.
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 Yes. That brings us to our plus deltas. Dr. Moss?
Well, it's an exciting night. We've named a new elementary school. We've heard a good construction update. We've seen evidence of further community support with the improvements at Jung. And we've ended with a focus on student safety. So they say sometimes your agenda reflects the heart of a school, and I'm proud of the items we have there. So,
Thank you, Doctor.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Sheriff, I'd just like to thank the community for all the support, from passing the bond issue to supporting athletics to supporting all the students. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. I couldn't echo your sentiments more. I agree completely. Had some neat hirings tonight in our closed session that we should be very pleased about, and those will become public information very soon, I'm sure. And so I congratulate those in attendance tonight. And we welcome, help me out with our new accountant.
Arlene Rich?
Arlene, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to close.
We're going to let you finish. So,
Second.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Jeff. It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you all very much.
I was trying not to interrupt.
Oh, I was stumbling all over it, buddy.
It's like,